Let's talk a little bit about some other news and notes from the time, and this is going to be uncomfortable. We're live here on somethingtowrestle.com, and sometimes these stories get into areas that I'd prefer us not to talk about, but it is what happened, and it's out there now, so we should talk about it. Wade Keller had this report in the Torch. Undertaker is still said to be hot at John Laurinaitis for not notifying him that Bob Orton had tested positive for hepatitis before Bob was scheduled to blade in the ring with an angle with him. Taker has since tested negative, but Laurinaitis shouldn't have let it happen in the first place. There are at least 2 WWE personalities who appear on camera who have hepatitis and aren't written into any physical angles for fear that even a bloody nose or inadvertent cut could lead to a transmission to someone else in the ring. The NBA has a strict policy of stopping games and requiring players to clean off any blood and cover any cuts before resuming play. By contrast, one of WWE's top executives knowingly let one person with hepatitis bleed around another wrestler. So listen, this feels weird to even discuss because we're talking about someone's medical situation, but so I want to table that piece of the discussion and instead talk about just cleanliness in wrestling. If you're an MMA fan or mixed martial arts fan of any sort, you know that Ben Askren has been in the fight of his life this year, and I believe it was born out of a staph infection. So that was more often than not, if someone in his athletic background comes from it being a dirty mat. And there were lots of territories through the days where you would see that same canvas, it feels like used over and over and over again. It's not like WWE on TV where they've got 5 or 6 canvases and they're changing it between each match. We've certainly improved a great deal. But once upon a time, man, you had to, the way I've heard it, John, is guys would wash each other's backs in the shower. Now that sounds kind of sus outside of the bubble, but if you understand, hey, I may have been wrestling on a dirty mat, and this is for my health and wellness, not like, oh, it feels good, I've got an itch, but I don't want to get sick and damn near die. Tell me what you remember about the evolution of how that changed, the attitudes towards wrestlers' health changed with regard to bleeding, cuts, and canvases.
Well, first I want to address the fact that neither me nor Ron, me nor Barry Windham, me nor Dick Murdoch, me nor Black Bart, Ron nor Butch Reed, we never washed each other's backs. I understand guys did that. I've seen it done some, but not often. But that's not a common practice, by the way. I've heard that, and I guess I think I have seen it, but you try to look the other way. But that's something that's I don't think quite as common as what
I heard it from Tracy Smothers. So maybe it was a Southern indie thing.
I'm sure he's not, and I'm sure Tracy's not lying.
Right.
I've seen it done, where guys had, problems with something on their back. They ask guys to do it, to wash their back or something. You got to understand, back in the, I say back in the day, going back to, the old guys. And I mean, the guys back, in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. I mean, not as late as the 50s, maybe 20s, 30s, and 40s. A lot of them had lost their eyesight, because of mats. You had all this stuff, problems with getting stuff in your face. And I mean, it was a real issue with old wrestlers of infections and stuff on the face, especially with your eyesight. So many guys, had terrible eyesight and had real issues with their health as they got older because of that. It's changed completely now, and that's a wonderful thing. But yeah, these old mats, you go in there, there'd be blood everywhere. The sweat would be piled up for the last 4 months. I mean, they were horrible sanitary conditions.
When this story happened back in 2006, do you remember, were any of the boys upset? I mean, obviously we're reading that Undertaker was said to be hot. Did anyone feel like this was a violation in 2006, or do you remember this being kind of an isolated thing that was kept quiet, or did the locker room know?
The locker room knew, yeah. And I knew exactly what happened with the fallout from it. And I don't know if Taker's ever told the story, so I'm not going to tell his version because if he hasn't told it. But this was all on look, we found out a lot about Laurinaitis recently. And this was on Laurinaitis. And, this is something that, a lot of guys had gotten stuff, from different places. And back when they juiced a lot,
yep.
and a lot of guys, when they go to the hospital, they didn't test a lot for different things like hepatitis. We didn't get blood transfusion and things. My brother had it because of a blood transfusion in Japan when he was in the Marines over there. So it's not horribly uncommon But that was this. They just dropped the ball, and I don't know if Johnny forgot about it. It's hard to believe that if he did something that important, but that's this wasn't a WWE thing. This was a specific thing, a person that worked for WWE. So it is a WWE thing in that respect. It was a person that dropped the ball. This wasn't a thing that WWE just, hey, let's not worry about it. They weren't cavalier about anything back then. They weren't cavalier about concussions. They weren't cavalier about blood. They weren't cavalier about anything. They tried to take care of the guys. This was something that just slipped through the cracks. And it was something, Johnny just happened to be the guy that was there that should have been the guy that dealt with it. And whatever happened, there was no maliciousness to it, my understanding. I was there when the whole thing happened. I saw the whole fallout, everything. I don't believe there's any maliciousness to it. It's just something that slipped between the cracks. And to say Undertaker was upset is an understatement. And he should have been. He absolutely should have been.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we all got better in wrestling. We mentioned earlier that we're switching canvases out during a TV show. And if you've ever been to a live Monday Night Raw or SmackDown, or you know what I'm talking about, there's multiple canvases on there. But that's something that even started happening when you were in the company. Like, that wasn't always the case, right? No,
it wasn't the case. When I first got there, they didn't switch out mats. We didn't know quite as much about that either then. Back then, you know so much more now. One reason you switch out mats back then was because it looked bad. You didn't want blood spots on the mats because it looked bad. Then all of a sudden you realize, and we understood it was a health issue. I'm not saying that people in the 90s had no idea that this was. Of course, we knew it was a health issue, but it was also just a matter of aesthetics. It looked bad, But then all of a sudden you realize, these guys, there's so many things wrong with blood. We were getting tested back then too. So we're getting tested for AIDS, for hepatitis, for all that stuff. So, if a guy bled out there, you didn't feel that uncomfortable about it because you knew that person had been tested. And we were tested regularly with this legit testing. So there wasn't a huge concern about, I'm going to get something from these guys because everybody was tested.
Well, I know that disease has a stigma. So I'm always careful to talk about it because you and I know there's other talent who have had a similar situation where they had that same disease. And I think it has such a negative connotation that sometimes people forget the way wrestling was. Once upon a time, guys used to share blades.
Oh yeah.
It would be in my bloodstream and now it's going to be in another guy's. Like, man,
guys would juice other guys.
Yes.
The older guys would juice the older guys. I never juiced anybody. I never allowed anybody to juice me, but guys would do that all the time.
And we would hear guys in the locker room say, hey, who has a blade? Oh, I'll just use yours. And then give it back to him afterwards. Like, what are we doing? Now, of course, I don't think any of that happens now, but I am saying if that was the era and we weren't changing canvases, and listen, I know this is silly, but a lot of guys shave their body hair before they were going to be on camera. It's an aesthetic business. So they're going to do spray tans and they're going to shave their back or whatever. Well, how would you know that you had some sort of micro abrasion on your back that you can't see? And now you take a bump on a dirty mat and ta-da, guess what? You've got a real problem. And it's not necessarily because you did anything wrong. So I hate that I need to soft shoe that, but I just feel weird talking about people's health and not giving them a whole lot.
It was a different time. It was a different time. And we weren't aware of what we are now. We weren't aware back then, like of drugs, how bad they were, and that sounds stupid, but pills is what killed everybody. It wasn't steroids or cocaine. It was the pills. And we thought that was the least thing that would harm you back then. I remember guys doctors would just give you pills back then. And it's a different world now. I remember when we were in the dressing room one time in Sportorum and Killer Tim Brooks was juicing some match, and some kid, as he walks out, he was so excited because he'd seen a blade for the first time. He goes, "Hey, Killer, is that a blade?" And Killer, when he walked by him on the way to the ring, goes, "Yeah, kid," and he zipped him and got walked to the ring. Kids bleeding everywhere in the dressing room.
Don't we all love summer vacation, relaxing, laying out by the pool, barbecues, hitting the beach, doing, nothing? Well, how about a summer vacation from your house payments? With SaveWithConrad.com, you can do just that. Reduce your monthly payments by making the equity you built up in your home work for you. You can roll together those high interest rate credit cards into one lower monthly payment and perhaps access some of that newfound equity to turn your house into your dream home with no money out of pocket. And how about this? You get to skip your next 2 house payments. That's right. You won't have to make your June or your July house payment. You're done until August 1st. Go right now to SaveWithConrad.com. Let my team run the numbers for you for free There's no obligation, and if we can't help you save some cash, we won't waste your time. And did I mention we're offering a 3-year guarantee right now? That's right. That means if at any point interest rates improve over the next 3 years, you get a free refi. That's right. No new lender fees from us. So you get to save money now without wasting money later when the rates improve on a whole second set of closing costs. Why not go to savewithconrad.com and get a guarantee? Save money now and save money later with your friend in the mortgage business. That's me, Conrad Thompson at savewithconrad.com. Shoot me an email at conrad@savewithconrad.com. Give us a call at 888-425-0105 or get yourself a quick quote. Even talk to a live person right now at savewithconrad.com. NMLS number 2129, equal housing lender. Let's take a summer vacation from house payments at savewithconrad.com.